My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review for Warrior Season 1. This is a show that I've heard nothing about, but the plot sounded interesting, so I'm like, I'll give it a try. And I'm really glad I did. This is a good, underrated television show. I really enjoyed this season. Let's talk about the best part about it though, and it's Andrew Koji. This guy is a star in the making. He's absolutely fantastic here. Whether it's him making some sort of witty remark or if he has to be a complete badass, he pulls it off 100% of the time. He was in the movie Snake Eyes, and he was completely wasted in that movie. And it just bums me out because this guy, he's got a bright future ahead of him. He's just got the movie star charisma all over him. He's just fantastic in this show. Jason Tobin plays his best friend throughout this season, and I thought he was really good too. And then we got Diane Doran, who plays his sister, and I have to say that I think she was the weakest actress. I don't think she was necessarily bad, but she wasn't good either. She's very hit or miss throughout, but I wasn't too impressed with her, and I really like the story at play here. You've got this guy who goes to America to find his sister, and he discovers that she's the head of this Chinese gang. So he ends up joining the rival gang that these two are at head with each other. And it's just really fascinating storytelling. Like, he's torn because his enemy in the States is his sister, but he also wants her to go back home with him. And you can just see this inner conflict that he has throughout this entire season. There's some episodes where it's highlighted more than others, but it's always engaging stuff. Not always as emotional as it could be. I do wish they played it out a bit more, but it's still well handled. And I like the romance that the main character has with this girl named Penelope. It's not the most interesting romance. Penelope isn't the most interesting character, but she plays into archetypes that work for this kind of storytelling that I found to be satisfying. And I have to say that I also really like the tone that this show has. At first, I wasn't too sure about it because this show is confident in its action, as it should be. And the action in the show is fantastic, but for the first few episodes, whenever an action scene was going down, I was a bit mixed on it because even though the choreography was great on it, I always thought that the music just felt totally off from the action, and I'm just like, I don't know if the music goes well with the action, and it just created this odd tone. But as the show progresses, after a while, I'm like, you know what? I actually dig it. It actually gives the show a unique feel to it, and I really ended up appreciating that. And like I said, the action in this show is really great. Like, I don't know if Andrew Koji did his own stunts. It looks like he did, and if he did, this guy is just incredible. But the action is just so well choreographed. It's brutal when needed. Like, there's a few moments where you're just like, shit. And because this main character is proven to be as badass as he is, whenever he does get beaten, it has so much weight behind it. Like, you can't believe what you're seeing. Like, oh, he's not this unstoppable machine. There's one episode, I'm gonna go ahead and call it the Western episode. I think it's episode 5, but it's definitely a filler episode. It has nothing to do with the bigger plot at play. But it's my favorite episode. I thought this episode was just awesome. It's got some amazing action, it's tense, it's just so entertaining from start to finish. And there's one scene where Sam is sitting there waiting for these bad guys to come into the bar, and he's just sitting there waiting for them. Two of them got their guns pointed at him, and the main guy is walking up to him, threatening him, and then he goes ahead and punches him in the throat and just whips it out. And it's just one of those moments where I was just like, holy shit, this is awesome. Like, oh my goodness, that entire episode was just fantastic stuff. I really loved it. And there's another episode where these people are planning an attack on a parade, and as this plan is starting to move into action, it's intercut with Sam and Penelope having sex. And just the way it intercuts between those two different scenes to build tension, I've just never seen anything like it, and I just found it to be really interesting and really great, effective, well-directed stuff. So that was really great. Some complaints that I do have, though, is that some of the character beats between Sam and Long Jun were a bit repetitive. There are moments where the two start to argue a bit and then they make up, and this does happen a few too many times to the point where it does feel repetitive. And there are a few supporting characters who are cops, and I'm not saying that these characters are poorly written or anything, but they're not the reason why I watched the show. They're not the reason why I enjoyed it as much as I did. I watched the show for Asam and his storyline. And anytime the show cuts to these cops, it's not bad, but it's just the least interesting storyline. So maybe they'll have a bigger role to play. Maybe in the second season I'll change my mind on them. But as of season 1, I don't love these characters. I don't love their storyline. And one other complaint is there's a few moments where I get that this show is set a very long time ago where sexism and racism were a bigger part of their life. And it's definitely believable. But there are a few moments where it was a bit too over the top, where it felt kind of comical. Like there's one scene where these guys are talking to the senator and Penelope disagrees with them. And then they're like, well, Senator, it looks like you just lost a vote. That is, if she had one. And they all just start laughing like that. And in that one scene, I'm just like, yeah, that's a bit too much. That's a bit too comedically over the top. But those issues aside, I had a great time with this show. I really enjoyed it. Andrew Koji is a star. He's fantastic in this show. It's got some great action in it. It's got some funny moments. It's got a unique tone to it. And the story, for the most part, engaged me. It's not the most thought-provoking, emotional storytelling, but considering that the action and the characters are the reason why you watch this show, the story did enough to service some. So I did quite enjoy this show. So I'm going to go ahead and give Warrior Season 1 a 7.5 out of 10. Okay, have you seen Warrior Season 1? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon. And Gavin...